start it. It says it will be live soon. I'm not sure what happened.
I can start it again if you'd like. I've got to stop.
Actually, it says that we've started. We're live again.
Yep, it just did.
Okay, so Steve, so I'm on the snow echo.
Okay, yeah. And don't start it yet, Lee. I want to get a thumbs up from people in the chat to make sure they're back on. Can you guys hear me in the chat? I need a thumbs up from somebody in the chat. Rich Dowd? Okay, Caitlin, thank you very much. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me instead of just the 4 people that are in here. Okay, so the next script that we wrote was this particular script here. I got from one of our teams that needed an automation process that whenever we were getting requests in from our ecosystem to accreditate users, or I'm sorry, accreditate providers within Echo, they had to fill out a lengthy request form, and they had to do this every single time. So what you're seeing it doing now is that it's actually opening up ServiceNow. It's going into our form that the teams used to have to fill out to facilitate this request. And I apologize that it's not going to show you the whole screen because there's some PHI in there that I was trying to avoid just by cleverly moving the screen around. But you'll see what the script is doing is it's going down there and it's reading off of a spreadsheet that gets dropped into a folder automatically from the Echo team saying these are the list of all the providers that were accredited today. Please add them to Epic. So what it does, it goes through this process of adding all of those providers. It attaches the spreadsheet. And then what it does is it has to go back into my request form, which is what it's doing right now. It's going to go into my request form. It's going to find what we call the RITM, or the request number. And you'll see that briefly appear in blue in the lower left-hand corner when it actually finds it. It's still moving to that screen right now. And now it just went to it. There's my account. It finds the RITM number. Now it's got to go to another part of ServiceNow, which it's doing. And this is my dashboard as an analyst that I see. And I go in here, and it's going to take a few seconds here for it to move over. And it almost seems like the script is stopped, but it's not. But in a moment, you'll see it move over. It's going to go into the search window. It's going to type in that RITM number and then find it. And then the final thing it has to do is find the approval link in the RITM. Once it finds it, it clicks it, which opens up an email. And then on that email, all I have to do is press send. And once it sends it, it'll finish this request out. It'll add the task automatically for the team to actually work. And when that's done, it automatically sends an email to the manager of this team, letting him know that a RITM was generated and a task was generated off of that particular request, just so he can keep track of what's going on. And this is a completely automated process. I don't touch this. We use the Eggplant Manager to schedule this to run every day at 1:30. The request or the form for the Echo team comes in about 1 o'clock. So a half an hour later, it checks and see if there's a form in there, because it doesn't come in every single day. If it doesn't come in, it just sends an email straight to the manager saying that there was no form generated today. So he knows that there shouldn't be any requests coming in. If it does see it, it processes it. Of course, once it's finished processing, it will go ahead and send them an email at the very end when it's finished. So what this has done is this has completely taken all of that manual process out of the loop for them. It's increased the productivity tremendously because they don't have to worry about missing a report. It comes in automatically, and if there's no report, I send a message out via email to the manager just to let them know. And they've been able to refocus that time on other tasks within their team instead of having to manually fill this out each time. So this is one of those other type of what I like to call force multipliers, that it's just helping them do less of the manual stuff that they have to do every day. And that's one of the great advantages of, we found with Eggplant is being able to automate these processes and just allow them to work on other stuff while Eggplant's working in the background. And that's pretty much it.
So that gives us about 15 minutes for questions. I'm going to keep the slide deck up because in case we need to go back to any of it. But I know Greg and Steve, if y'all could filter the questions if they're out there, or Jason, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a couple of them. Julia Denning. So just a point of confirmation. Can you confirm that Eggplant can auto-generate those social security numbers for test patients? That was her first question. And then the next one was, how often are you discharging patients in a test environment?
So for the social security number, yes, Eggplant does do an auto generate. It's random numbers. You just tell it to do the different lengths of numbers that you need. It depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, social security, pull that up random. So on the discharges, whenever we're completed a round of testing, uh, we'll get sent a list of MRNs that need to be discharged, and then we discharge the patients and we kind of do a random bed cleaning as we go along as well, just to make sure that the beds are clean. But whenever we're completed with a round of testing, we will go ahead and discharge those patients.
Yeah, I'll just tap onto that. We keep up with the quarterly updates, so we clean the beds after every quarterly update. But we're also using Eggplants as we do our environment refresh now. So Greg and Jenny and Gabe from the team are working on getting that set up as well.
Yeah, and a nice thing about the clean bed script that we have, it is so incredibly fast that we don't even have to get a list of people that we need to discharge. We literally go in and clean every single bed in the organization that's in the test environment, and it only takes 1 or 2 hours to do. In the background, we just press a button and it cleans every single bed, regardless if it needs cleaning or not. Of course, if it sees that it doesn't need it, just skips over it. But it evaluates every single bed in the entire facility, and cleans the bed if it needs to be cleaned.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So the next question coming from John at Moffitt. Are you guys using Eggplant for multi-day integration testing events? For example, testing full patient experience across multiple days, admission to discharge, or are you mainly using Eggplant for the smaller scope regression testing?
Right now, we're on smaller scope regression testing. We plan to move forward with it with the larger integration scripts, but we're not there yet.
All righty. Loving this question, Lee. So question is, how did you get your team's technical skills up and ready for Eggplant?
Well, that's one reason we picked Eggplant, because it was easy to learn. None of my team, not a one of us are technical. They took the, we signed the contract on December 18th, and we knew that Eggplant was coming to train us on February, so we took the courses online. Steve helped work with Ann Foster, pulling together the training class, and we just keep meeting as a team, sharing what we've learned. We do it once a week. So yes, it's very easy to adapt to.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I'm just going to put a plug in for Ann and Frankie, who's our contract person. They have been outstanding in providing support to us. And there hasn't been a question yet that they haven't been able to answer. And trust me, we've challenged them on several cases. But the good thing about it, it's a progressive learning type of thing where you learn as you go, and the more you code, the better you get. And we are now taking a lot of our code and compartmentalizing it to the point where we have certain bunches of code that are built up to do certain things that you have to do each time, like logging into an environment. Greg has got a series of code set up for that for each one of the types of logins. We have different environments, we have different locations. All of that is all just a single button push based on a series of little snippets of code that we've added. So as you get more familiar running Eggplant, you just become better. It's like anything else. It's a very simple coding language I found to learn. I'm not a coder by background by any means, but the thing is that you really start to understand how much you've learned when you have to go back and look at some of your old code that still works, but the optimization is just unbelievable. For an example, the code for the all scripts discharge that Lee was talking about, we did that originally almost a year ago, and I wrote the code for it. Just this week, we had another facility that we were transitioning to another organization, and we had to discharge all the patients out of our system that we were still maintaining for them. And I had to go back and actually look at that code try to bring it up to run, this last, it was only less than 200 patients. The first one I discharged over 6,000 patients. To see that code as I was, my coding experience back then, almost a year ago, it was stark. I looked at the code and I said, I can probably spend 2 or 3 hours updating this to make it 100 times better and more robust. But the ask was just to get these 195 patients discharged, and the code, as clunky as it was, still works. So I just pressed the button and let it do its job. But you'll see that as you start coding Eggplant, the leaps and bounds that you learn to code more efficiently, especially if you got someone like Ann who's guiding you each time you send her code, and she's thinking in the back of her mind, what are you guys thinking coding this way? If you do this, this, and that, it's going to be much more cleaner. So it's a constant process of updating your coding skills as you go along. And, I've been very satisfied with both the support I've gotten and the application itself, how easy it is to code.
Awesome. So I think we've probably got time for maybe one more question. So this is related to ServiceNow. Are you guys using ServiceNow APIs to automate with Eggplant?
Do you want me to answer that, Lee?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've talked about it briefly. There's some technicalities we would have to get into right now, but so far just our needs have been all via the front end. We've been able to manage it, but we would love to get into that situation where we're tapping into the power of APIs to do some of that back end coding that would just make everything a lot cleaner. But we have not started doing that yet.
And I think one of the issues there is we don't own ServiceNow, my team. So the team that owns ServiceNow doesn't let us have all the ability that we would like to have.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much for the time and participating and sharing some of the best lessons learned and best use practices for Baylor, Scott and White. So we've got a few minutes. Our next breakout session is going to start at 2:15. We will make sure that all of the presentations today, you're going to have access to those as well as contact information. So thanks everybody for participating, and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.